Welcome back to RuggedMade. I'm Jared, and here we are back at the Gateway Farm in the beautiful Green Mountains of Vermont. If you haven't seen the video from our first visit here, be sure to check that out. We came up right around Thanksgiving time, and we met Trent and Abby, and we got to do some log splitting. We checked out their turkeys, all of which are gone by now. And one of the most magical things about the Gateway Farm is the maple syrup that they make. So Trent and Abby invited us to come back in the middle of the season when they're doing that, and that brings us to today. The temperature is apparently perfect, the sap is running, so here we are at the sugar shack. We're gonna knock and see if Trent's available and see what we can learn about their maple syrup production.
Hey!
Good to see you, Trent.
How's it going?
Good.
What's the good word today?
Well, you told us to come back when you were doing maple syrup. And
absolutely.
Abby said something about bring containers and we can take back all the syrup we want.
You bet.
Because there are a whole bunch of people back at headquarters who love the syrup you gave us last time.
We're making plenty of it. That's great.
All right, well, we'd love to see what's going on in here.
Yeah, come on in.
All right, let's go. Yeah, so what is important about the weather as far as the sap and...
Sunlight, 40-degree days-ish, just freeze-thaw effect. And as long as it's the springtime, it'll start running.
Okay.
It'll run early season, but right now it's running nicely.
Great. So I guess later, can we see where the sap is actually coming from?
Absolutely. We're collecting it, ROing it, processing it, and boiling it down with firewood right now, and filter pressing for as fresh as you can get right now.
So what's going on down in here?
Right down in here, we've got a gasifying arch. So these levers throw high-powered 3-horse fan, throws air into the door, into the grates, and then up in here, so we actually gasify the wood. It's not just a conventional wood burning system. It's throwing a lot of air to make all those sparks run around. So right now, in this, we'll just shut these real quick without trying to stir up our fire too well, but that's the fire we got right now. And you can see the air really puts a lot of air to it. So now we run a combination. The farm my father's got has a sawmill, so we run a combination of the slabs that we make off of logs. All this timber was milled right on site, so we continue to keep milling, and the slabs that are a byproduct we use, plus split pine. We split for sugar house pine that isn't of quality to mill into logs. So gnarly or really knotty stuff we'll save, and we'll cut that to 30-inch length and split that. So we'll mix a half and half. And right now, my father's out of the split wood, so we got to go over and get another bundle of split wood.
All right, let's head out and do that.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, it looks like you've been busy.
Yeah, no, we moved the splitter over here, mostly because we pull saw logs off of the side of the woods, and we'll pull out the saw logs we keep, stack them up here by the road where the truck can get them for us to move around, and then we'll stockpile everything that's not of quality for saw logs, and then we bucket up into lengths. And this was our sugar house pile, and I actually brought over some housewood pile so I won't have to move the splitter too much. But we've been cutting about 30 inches, 29, 30 inches, and then throw them over here, and we split it a little bit finer for the arch, smaller, so it's a little bit more hot, intense heat. We don't want a long smoldering fire. We want to have a real intense hot fire. So
okay, so a little different than what someone might want to do for heating their home, where they want to stoke it
one
to twice a day.
Yeah, we like to stoke it. Our arch we stoke about 15 to 20 minute intervals.
Wow.
And when we have little split pieces, they like to go up in flames really fast and be a nice hot fire, so it caramelizes that sap fast.
It's almost like jumbo kindling.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like I say, it's mostly pine. Ideally we would use hardwood, but we have excess of pine, and we just make sure we use every bit of it. So
now, how long would something like this need to sit out and get any kind of seasoning before you'd want to put it in the burner?
Well, because it burns so hot, we can throw some green wood in there and it really won't bother it. But these logs have been sitting for 2 years now, so we'll let them sit kind of for a year on the ground, and then we'll stockpile them for the summer and just start splitting them as we need them. But certainly they're crispy. They're a little bit wet from some snow we had, and last night it rained, but the arch does not bother that one bit. Doesn't mind it. So here you'll see the tubing system, we call it, for our collection.
Yeah.
Everything right here, this blue inch pipe is called main line, and this we call lateral line. So the main line is hung on wire from an end tree, from start to finish. There's a wire all the way down there.
Yep.
And then we'll actually hang this blue main line by hog ties, these little wires. So it holds it and keeps it suspended out off the ground.
Yeah.
And then the lateral lines is what goes out to every single tree. So this one is just a single tap, we call it, because there's just one tap. And this is the spout. So that clear spout is this year. This is the last year's pink one that we use. We try to change every year. So if you walk up to a tree, you know that a color that you're not using is last year's.
Smart.
So this is a 1/4 inch spile. And we'll drill a 1/4 inch hole, and then we'll use that tapping hammer and we'll tap on it until you can hear it kind of set itself. It'll go thunk, 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 tink, tink, tink when it actually sets. So right now you can see that the weather is actually making this tree run nicely, and there's the sap actually getting extracted from the tree right now.
And this is why today was a good day to come up and see this, right? The
beautiful
conditions
weather.
are perfect.
Yeah. This is called a precision tapper, and it allows us to have even pressure all the way around the tree so that we drill the hole square and straight.
Yep.
And then it's spring loaded, so when we go on our back drill, it pulls it out spring loaded to make a nice clean hole and extracts all the sawdust from it. And then we go on to the next, and we do that right now. We're doing that 12,500 times.
So 12,500 of these little taps?
Of those, and then we go back through, we're on our 3rd round of checking every single tree to make sure the vacuum's up. So these main lines, we actually have valves on the bottom. You shut the valve off when the sap's running and the vacuum is on. You shut the valve off, and if you wait 10, 15 seconds, sometimes 20 seconds, and you open the valve, if you hear a hiss of air, it means there's a leak and it's transferring the vacuum. If it's opened and it's quiet, then you're good to go and you can start walking the next one.
Now what might cause a leak, an air leak like that?
Squirrels.
Nibblers?
Yeah, gray squirrels, red squirrels, porcupines, woodpeckers. Sometimes human error will drill a dead tree, or we'll drill a tree that has a scar on it or like a seam, and you'll pull out dead wood not knowing. You can typically know because it won't be nice white wood. It'll be brown or dead or spongy or hollow. So human error happens too, unfortunately.
Can you reuse the same hole?
Nope. I mean, you can't, because it'll heal over. Here's some actual last year holes and 2-year-old holes that started to heal over.
How many feet of hose are you running all over this place?
There's about, in these woods, not where we haul from, but these woods, there's about 86,000 feet of this inch pipe.
Wow.
And there's 26,000 or 28,000 feet of 1.5 and 2-inch pipe. And then to do my quick math, there was 7 pallets, which had 60 rolls of 500, so there's 210,000 feet of this green lateral line in these woods.
It seems like you get some good exercise, because I'm looking up your hill here, and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
some serious grade.
Yeah, plenty of exercise.
And you've got to walk every line multiple times a season?
Multiple times, yeah.
Wow.
To fix it, to tap it, and then to chase vacuum leaks, which is 3, 4, maybe 5 times. 3 if we're lucky, 5 times, 6 times if we've got a bad season of critters and you know, problems. And then we go back through at the end of the season and pull every spout.
Great. Well, why don't we head up the hill and check out a few more spots, get some
Sounds
exercise for the
great.
day. All right, so Trent's going to be showing us a little bit of how this process works. So Trent, tell us what room we're in and what some of this gear does.
So we call this the RO room, mostly because it's insulated because of this piece of equipment.
Yep.
It's called a reverse osmosis, and we can't let any of it freeze because of the pumps and the membranes that are in it. But to start with, we start over here. There's a vacuum you can hear in the background running right now, and that's putting vacuum to the whole system. So right here, I'll show you, that's the sap coming in right now to this releaser. So 3,400 taps and 5,200 taps or so are each on those lines. And then when this fills up, the pump will kick on, put it in our silo for long-term storage, which long-term right now is only a couple hours. The silo will hold raw sap, which is 2%, you know, 1.5 to 2% sugar content, and we'll run it through the RO, which puts it under pressure.
So just so I'm clear on kind of where we are in the overall process, is this basically coming right out of the trees?
This is coming right out of the trees.
Okay.
So the tree is filling the spout,
Yep.
which goes through the tubing to the main lines, and the main lines all come here.
Okay.
So now this sap that's coming in here was in the tree maybe 30 minutes ago at most.
All right, so what's with the hot tubs?
So right here, these two swimming pools. So this is concentrated sap, about 6%, a full tank full that we're gonna RO again as we're boiling. And then over here, this is what we call the permeate, which is pure H2O. There's some impurities, I mean a little bit, but this is as close to pure water as we get.
Did this get squeezed out of the sap?
This gets squeezed out, and we save it because it's the best thing to clean with. So from here, we'll go up to the feed tank and look at the concentrated sap that's feeding to the arch. So here we've got the concentrate tank.
Is this the foam for the latte?
Yep, this is where you skim off the foam, the sweetener. But this feeds the arch, and right now that's the sap that's coming in out of the out of the reverse osmosis.
Okay.
From the tank 2 that we were just talking to. So tank 2 we're taking out at 6 or 7% sugar content, running it through very fast again, bringing it up to about 16 or 18 depending on where we want. So this tank is solely to hold the sap that feeds into the arch. So the RO is pushing it up here, and then it's gravity and float system running down into the arch.
All right, so here we are in the main room of the sugar house. And Trent, is this where the magic happens?
This is the evaporator that does all the final processing of the sap that we've gone through the whole storage and concentration of so far.
So you keep calling this thing an arch. Why do you call it that?
Arch, evaporator, pans, all of it. So the arch is the actual bottom part that the fire is in and the pans sit on, and the evaporator is at the whole, the whole unit.
So, I mean, just maybe walk me through just the real basics, this whole evaporation process. What are we really trying to do? Because you keep talking about start with this much sap and I end up with this much syrup. So
we're just trying to get all the excess water out to get syrup, which is technically in the state of Vermont 66.7% sugar. And this steam away utilizes the steam we're making on our back pan by bubbling the sap and breaking the surface tension, so we can boil the sap before it goes into the back pan to boil with the steam we've already created. So it's all about getting that flame, as much heat from that flame in contact with the syrup.
Okay, so now we're talking flame, and that really gets at how we were able to get together and talking wood splitter. Tell us a little bit about the way you make flame versus the way some other operations would heat their arch.
So we naturally we're wood fired. There's oil, there's steam, which is a whole nother process. It's an oil boiler that runs steam. Wood chip, there's pellet. But with our wood fired, there's other aspects. There's natural draft, there's forced air, and this is gasification, which we actually have a 3-horse direct drive fan outside that blows through plumbing in the ground, up under to grates, and then the front and the back. So we can adjust how much air we're smashing into that fire. So it's just like any fire, when you start blowing air into it, you'll see it start to pick up. We're putting a pile of air to this, so we're getting a much more intense heat than a normal arch would get. And that allows it just to boil harder and hotter all the time.
So, I mean, that's one of the things that we fell in love with the Gateway Farm for, is the way that they're making maple syrup with wood. It seems like it's more labor intensive.
Yeah, it's more labor intensive. It's a dying breed. There's not as many wood producers. I mean, wood was just something you always had on the farm. And now with sugaring become so commercialized, oil is just as easy. You call up a company and they come drop off an oil tank full, and you turn a switch on and you're boiling, and when you're done at night, you shut the switch. Yeah. So wood is a niche market for us. We're gonna be wood for a very long time.
I mean, tell us why you like wood, and does it do anything to the syrup, the final product that you put out?
Yeah, so it's a huge debate in the sugaring world, oil fired versus wood fired. But personally, growing up on wood, buying oil fired syrup before buying wood fired syrup, there is a big difference. Wood fired is a lot hotter. Oil fired is a lot more consistent. It's a lower temperature, but it's a lot more consistent. So wood fired has, to me personally, we'll put that on the radar, it's more of a caramelized maple flavor. Again, when you do concentrated RO sap, there's a fine line of too high concentrated and not enough maple flavors. So we've got the personal preference of where we can concentrate to with our wood to get that really sweet maple caramelized, deep, rich flavor that we strive for.
Maybe we can look at the process of keeping this fire going.
Absolutely.
All right. So I volunteered to help stoke the arch, and let's see if I can do this for my first time and keep my eyebrows where they are.
So right here you can see the arch, our automatic draw off, just turned itself on, and that is finished product. So we have it set at 219.4, which is the boiling point.
Yep.
Generally, syrup boils 7 degrees higher than water. So if water's at 212 on the average, we'd be at 219. But right now we feel it's about 219.4. So depends on barometric pressure and a lot of other factors right now. So we're drawing off. Right now we have, we're finishing this vat 1, which we're filtering through our filter press. So we're taking an air diaphragm pump, pressing the syrup through all these plates, and these big plates are hollow. So we're taking any impurities out of the syrup. You can kind of see it's cloudy in there. We're pressing it through this filter press. So right now it's pressing through, and we're stockpiling it in these barrels. And you can see it's coming through clear through this hose, which we're pushing into these syrup barrels, which we'll store for long-term storage. So every barrel we take a sample so that we can keep it with the barrel and one for our window. But those barrels all have that grade in it. And then as the barrel fills up, we'll take another sample jar and go to the next one.
And what kind of information are you keeping track of when you take the sample?
Mostly the date, what day we produced it, what barrel sequence it was, what barrel number and the year it is, and mostly the grade, the color and the flavor of the syrup. And then we'll go from here later on in the season, we'll weigh everything to know exactly how many pounds of syrup are in each barrel.
All right, so let's see what this finished product tastes like.
We'll fill these up.
Nice, so this is fresh from the arch, Vermont maple syrup at the Gateway Farm.
Cheers.
Cheers, Trent. Oh, that's so good. I think I'm going to be in big trouble if I don't bring some of this back for the rest of the team.
We'll fill them up.
So, Trent, how would you describe this batch in terms of flavor? I mean, people like me have grown up drinking, grade A amber. What does that even mean?
So, Vermont and the federal government actually changed everything to a standardized grading for everybody that produces. So, we would call this amber rich now. There's no grade A and there's no fancy. It's golden delicate, amber rich, dark robust, and very dark, very strong. So the amber rich actually stands for amber in color, rich in taste. So it's a lighter side of our amber rich. It's got a really nice, sweet, subtle maple flavor.
It does.
It's not very deep and robust. So it's a good, as my father would call it, a good sipping syrup.
So we just got the grand tour through the sugar house at the Gateway Farm. Thank you, Trent.
No problem.
Got some of this liquid gold to take home. But I still had a couple other questions. I think you were mentioning that this is kind of a family tradition for you. Like, how I mean, Trent is such an expert, and we didn't even want to record some of the things that he was telling us because there's probably all kinds of trade secrets and things that he's learned over time. But where did you learn this stuff?
Just growing up doing it with my father, my mother and father, and he grew up doing it with his mother and father, and so did they. So
wow. So we're talking how many generations of maple syruping?
If I had to guess, it was at least 4, but it might be 5 or 6. I'd have to ask my father on that one. But yeah, no, growing up, our scale was a lot smaller, 300-400, 400-500 taps mostly. But just with purchasing this land and growing a family, I wanted to make it a little bit more self-sufficient. So that's why we expanded to the number we are now.
The wood, some of the wood that I was feeding into the arch was what's left after you mill, run logs through your mill. So you do the framing. I mean, in terms of being built, like you guys can see this building we're in, the sugar house. Tell us a little bit about how this building came to be, because it is beautiful.
So everything we pulled off, my father's got a skidder. We have 300 acres of woodlot, so we just kind of decided, if we're going to build a sugar house, we're going to obviously mill out our own wood and use it. But a
lot of people would have gone for a corrugated metal roof and cement.
I really like old timber frame buildings, and it kind of goes with our mentality of having our old sugar house that's just behind this sugar house, bring that back to life, to set it up the old-fashioned way with the old arch and a wooden gathering tank and everything. just to more fit the part of, you know, family tradition, not commercialized. We're trying to be a little bit commercialized with the aspect of how much we're doing and how efficient we are, but we want to still be family tradition and family runs.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, you think about the syrups coming from trees on your land right into the machine, and out the door it goes like this, and then the wood. You took these trees down on your land, milled them, and then built a structure.
Came off the land, we milled them, built them, cut it all here, put it all up here. The slab woods you were feeding the arch today were actually slab woods off of logs we pulled off our land last winter, and the lumber that we used was for our new barn that we're building. So we try not to waste too much.
Yeah, and then what can't be built into a beautiful building like this ends up getting burned, either to boil the maple syrup or to heat your house all winter.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of, again, what brought us together, and it's been great. So glad we were able to come up for a second visit. Now, if someone wanted to get some of this delicious syrup, where would they go? You guys have an online store, right?
Yeah, thegatewayfarm.com, or follow, I think it's the Gateway Farm Instagram. My wife takes care of all that.
Great. Or you can stop by.
Yeah, absolutely. Door is open. We have a farm stand. Sugar house is open. If there's steam rolling, swing on in.
Great. All right. Well, so good to see you again, Trent. Thanks so much for the tour.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, I think we're going to go home and cook up some pancakes.